evening, wrestling fans, and welcome to the Wrestle Talk Podcast. For the next 2 hours, we will bring you the latest pro wrestling news, in-depth analysis of all your favorite promotions from across the globe, and much, much more. We will also bring you exclusive interviews with the greatest professional wrestling personalities on the local, national, and international levels. If you want to follow the Wrestle Talk Podcast, check us out online at www.wrestletalkpodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And now, it's time for the reigning, defending, undisputed leader in pro wrestling podcast, the Wrestle Talk Podcast.
Good evening, wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of the Wrestle Talk Podcast, episode 450 of the Wrestle Talk Podcast. My name is the one and only Big Sexy, the Road Dog, Chris Rodell. Happy to be here on another Tuesday night. We got a lot to talk about. We got some WWE stuff to talk about. We got a great guest from OVW, Mr. Big Whiskey, Jared Kripke. But I can't do this alone. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in my co-host for this evening. He is the one and only Hardcore Hoss. Big Hoss, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. Great to be here, Chris. How's it going?
I'm doing good. How about you, man?
Hey, like I say, I'm doing good and, just excited to be here. Looking forward to another great guest. I've been doing some research, come across some interesting things, I tell you, about this guest, and just have a few questions for him, and just look forward to getting into it.
Yeah, how are things going in your neck of the woods? How's the family? How's everybody how's the world treating you?
World's all right. Family doing as good as can be. Good days and bad days, like everybody.
Yeah, that's sad but true. Any wrestling? You been any wrestling like up there? Or over there?
I was at WDWA's last show, and still going there like every other week. And
that's
good. Still got some good shows going there, and
that sounds like fun. So, well, it's good. It's going to be a good week here at the Wrestle Talk Podcast. I think we got some good high spots topics. We'll have the FWWC segment. I can't even talk really. And like I said, we have that great guest, Jared Kripke from OVW and JICW. I'm really interested to get into the they're going to be part of a new Netflix series called Wrestlers. We're going to talk. We're hoping to talk about later on in the second hour. So I think that'll be interesting.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. I believe it drops tomorrow. Of course, he can confirm that. And
Sister Haas in the house. That kind of rhymed a little bit there. But we can't do it without the great sponsors of the Wrestle Talk Podcast. Big Hoss, I'm going to go ahead and put him up here. You want to go ahead and take care of him for us?
Oh, of course. Go ahead and put them up there for everybody to see, because they are some great sponsors. Let me tell you, you got Royal Mills Transportation, Dewan Mills. Hit him up for all your transportation needs. Rathbun Engraving, World Wrestle Talk Podcast mugs, just $20. Nobleman's Barber Lounge, KCMO. Kincaid Arcade at the Oak Park Mall. Interstate 70 Sports Media. Little Popeye Designs, where you can get your own Wrestle Talk Podcast tumbler. If you don't have one, you better get one. And the FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group. They are just some of the best group in the world there, and it's really like a family, I tell you. And I'm a part of it. I'm the hardcore champion there, and just really we have a lot of fun. And if you can't get in the ring for whatever reason, but you've always wanted to be a wrestler, this is the next best thing. We cut promos on each other. We role play our matches, and it's as close to being a wrestler as you can get without actually stepping in the ring.
Yeah, I mean, yes, that is awesome. Apparently, Sonny's kind of been challenging me here on the last couple of weeks of the Wrestle Talk podcast, so we'll see if he jumps in. We got Justin already. Looking forward to our guest, the man, Big Whiskey, wanting a match with Jay Hayes and Kripke. Criminal Misfits or Southern Discomfort. That sounds like something that sounds like the next day after a Southern Comfort binge, Southern Discomfort. But we got
Sonny's definitely been challenging you. I mean, he's been challenging you since the last time I was on. He wants that quick trip pizza ladder match.
Yeah, I know. I've heard that. So Aaron Lawrence in the house. He's watching us. One of the refs at THWA and MMWA. So we got a lot of good people joining us tonight. So it's gonna be a good night, don't you think?
Oh yeah, it's always a good night when the Wrestle Talk podcast is around. I mean, how can you not have a good night with the Wrestle Talk podcast?
Exactly, and Sonny's going to be around later on, at some point chirping, but we'll have to talk about his Kansas City Chiefs on the opening day, not coming to play completely. So, how was your Raiders this weekend?
They've got a lot of improvement. I'm not going to say that they had the best game, but they did win. They were the only one in the AFC West to win. So they do hold first place. But it's only week one, but you got to celebrate those small victories.
Yeah. The little by little stuff that goes on. So, well, we got our sponsors. Unfortunately, we've come to a part that a tradition we like to do here at the Wrestle Talk podcast. I will go ahead and I think I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce it, so I can go down here and find the find the musical talent.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time again. If you would please remove your hats, place your hands over your hearts, because we are about to pay homage to the best country around, and that being America, damn it. Go ahead and hit that music. Brings a tear to your eye every time, doesn't it?
Oh, that's something.
Or an aneurysm to your ear, one of the two.
Yeah. I haven't quite decided. I still can't decide whether that one or the Carl Lewis one is worse. I honestly don't know. I mean, what is your opinion on that? Which one do you think is worse?
I would say probably Roseanne. After all, they had to trademark Carl Lewis, and so they must have thought somebody'd want to play that at some time, and evidently we can play Roseanne, so they must not think anybody want to hear that one. So that has to be worse. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We have our guest who's hanging out in the comment. Jared Kripke is hanging out there. I did not even know the DX band did the anthem, so we may have to look into that. So we do have a lot to talk about in the world of wrestling. A lot of it we are very WWE heavy, but because that's who's making the most news right now. AEW's kind of came off of their weekend, and WWE's building towards their next pay-per-view. So you want to go ahead and get started with the high spots?
Let's go ahead and do it.
All right. Let's hit the little DJ money.
Mic check. Yeah. All right. Wrestle Talk Podcast. DJ Money. Yeah. Welcome to High Spots, where we pop news like flare chops. We talk shop, coming through the screens of a laptop. And non-stop like a runner's speeches of blacktop. We hit hard like chair shots and backdrops. Like a clock flash, look like a belly flop. Now that's hard. We up to speed while they stay slow. Wrestle Talk Podcast, now they know. We about to start the show.
DJ Money getting us fired up for the High Spots segment. We got a lot going on in the world of professional. Susie caught my dancing moves. So I see she still got the Bray Wyatt picture in the as her profile pic. If you're coming to it, just a reminder, if you're coming to us from a group, I believe there's something up there that says give permission to show the name so it doesn't come up as Facebook user. We haven't seen any tonight, but just a little heads up for the ones that come through any group. So,
and Justin Smith wants to know, what, no single CM Punk reference? I believe there is one question that may mention him if it should come up. But it's not directly geared with CM Punk. So.
And honestly, is the CM Punk thing not really kind of a dead horse right now? I mean, that horse is over. That horse is over in the corner and is begging for begging for forgiveness to stop. So,
well, and if you're like a lot of people, who cares that he got fired? He should have been fired a long time ago.
That is true. I have my own opinions, but we'll save them for later. So we're gonna go ahead and fire up this random. We'll see if it actually stops. One time I couldn't get the randomizer to stop. I had to physically unplug the randomizer. So we're gonna go ahead and fire up this randomizer and start things.
If I look around, I might have a sledgehammer if it gets stuck.
It stopped. Uh-oh. Nia Jax returned to Raw last night, attacking Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez. Do you believe that Nia will be the one to dethrone Rhea? Haas?
Do I think she could dethrone Rhea? Yeah, she definitely could. But do I think she will be the one to do it? I don't think so. I think it's too soon. I think they're going to have Rhea hold on to that title a little bit longer, personally. So I don't look for her to be the one to do it, but I look for them to have a pretty good feud with each other.
Okay, I'm torn on this one. I like Rhea Ripley as champion. Rhea Ripley is one of the best characters the WWE has right now. She's one of the top women, not necessarily even one of the top women. She's one of the top performers in the company right now. Nia coming back, I'm not quite understanding why. Apparently, there was a report that she has been signed since when Vince came. It was one of Vince's first signings when he came when he came back before his back injury. But she's been on the sidelines, and I guess the creative didn't have anything to do with her. But then they decide. My thing is she has kind of a reputation of not being safe in the ring. There's been many people that have talked about various injuries. I mean, one of the most obvious injuries was Becky Lynch getting her nose broken prior to Survivor Series, which was leading to Becky, and I believe it was going to lead to Becky and Ronda Raw versus SmackDown Women's Champions. It was one of the biggest matches in the company, and they had to put it off because she broke her nose and got a concussion from Nia Jax attack. So I don't know if you want to comment on. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. What you think of Nia in the ring and as a worker?
I have heard that she is very dangerous in the ring, and I have heard that there are people who don't want to work with her. But I don't know how much of that is embellished or how much of that is people, just looking for a reason not to like her. Because you know how the wrestling world is. If you can't find a reason not to like somebody, let's make something up.
Exactly.
I've seen it so many times where they've made stuff up just because they don't want to like somebody. So I don't know how much of it's true, but if she was all that dangerous, I can't see them putting her back in the ring.
I kind of agree with that. Susie said that Rhea can manhandle Nia. She got kind of squashed last night, so and she also thinks that Nia is very dangerous. It will open up some, because Rhea's kind of more of a physical specimen of a woman, and her matches with Raquel have been pretty good. But I mean, with Nia, it's gonna what's the word I'm looking for? It's got some of the same size, but ability I don't think is the same. That's my opinion. I could be completely wrong about that. Do you have you can expand on that? What you're looking forward to in a feud?
Just a good back and forth feud and something to keep you interested. And I could see the two of them being able to do something like that. There's a lot of people that have feuds and they're very one-sided feuds, or they're just played out, or they just don't hold your interest for whatever reason. And I could see them, though, putting on something to hold the fans' interest. I mean, especially since in reality, you look at it, how many people does Rhea really have that she can feud with one-on-one?
And go physically with them, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, honestly, her match with Zelina Vega at Backlash in Puerto Rico, that was pretty good, and there's a noticeable size difference there. So
yeah, there was, but they've kind of played that one out, I think. I just can't see them continuing with that feud much more. And there's really not a whole lot. I mean, there's Charlotte Flair out there. You have some women out there, but not enough to really hold people's attention. So
that's kind of the problem with the WWE. And actually, it's kind of the problem with AEW's women's roster. They have a very few top tier, and then everyone else is just there's a big gap between the top tier and then the bottom tier. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because you could always elevate someone, but I mean, really, the only people that you can see as of right now dethroning Rhea would probably be Charlotte, Becky, possibly Nia.
Well, in WWE, they're not exactly known to elevate the people as much as they are, let's take them from up here and bring them back down here. I mean, look at the women's title match that's happening tonight on NXT.
Yeah, and I like that, and I just NXT is on the corner of my eye. It looks like Wesley and Ilya Dragunov just beat the holy hell out of each other, which doesn't surprise me with the way Ilya wrestles. But I am actually kind of looking forward to Becky and Tiffany Stratton, because Tiffany's fairly new, but she's really good. She's one of the better bright spots on NXT. So I mean, and then apparently, from what I understand, the WWE wrestlers, they like going down to NXT to kind of help out. You know what I mean? It gives them a kind, they can help out the new talent, get them a good TV match. So I'm looking forward to it tonight. I don't know if you are or not. So,
well, I mean, I'm thinking it should be a good match, but and I can kind of understand where it's coming from, because I mean, in FWWC, we have what we call the Fed, which is our evolution and development stage, which I run down there. So, I can kind of understand wanting to put some people from there against, higher tier people. But normally when you do that, I would think it should be they're brought up to them, not the person being brought down to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Susie makes a good point that she thinks that Becky's going to win the NXT Women's Championship tonight. I don't know if that's the right call. However, However, she has never won the NXT Women's Champion. She's won the Raw and SmackDown Women's title. So, oh God, here and Sonny has entered the chat.
You are on the clock, Rodell.
And apparently, I'm not going to be able to duck him. So, I don't know. We're gonna have to have a contract negotiation because my time is worth a lot. I'm very highly sought after. So, but anyway, I'm sure that's not going to be the last time we hear from Sonny tonight. We know that. So
it's a quick trip pizza ladder match. How much more can you want, Rodell?
And it's about the money. Anyway, we're gonna fire up this randomizer again, and it played well the first time. We'll see if we can get it to stop this time. So. Ooh, intriguing question or intriguing picture. Now that Jey Uso is on Raw, do you believe he will join the Judgment Day or prove himself to the Raw locker room? I will go ahead and let you go ahead and defer first as soon as I take down this so we can see your face. There you
go. You know, for the sake of the storyline, I could really see this going either way. But just getting out of the bloodline, I don't know that he'd want to be jumping back into another faction. So from that aspect, I would say he would probably not join Judgment Day. I don't know how much proving he really has to do, but because I mean he's proved himself over time and time again. But then, you know, on the other side of the coin, I could in a way see him joining Judgment Day and it almost being like almost like a coup of, well, in reality, we're extending the bloodline type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, one, I love the Judgment Day story. I love the Judgment Day right now. They're on all three shows, basically, and they're a part of every major angle right now because you've got them and you've got them putting themselves with Jay. You saw them on SmackDown, you know, kind of have something to do with the OC, so you don't know what's happening there. I mean, and of course, Dominic Mysterio is probably one of the most over heels right now. I mean, you can't hear him. He's got Vicky Guerrero at a heat right now. It's like nuclear heat. Like as soon as he starts talking, they boo him. I mean, it's great to watch. I love it. I think it's hilarious. I think Jay's going to stay out on his own because. Have you seen the reactions of Jay that Jay's been getting? I mean, he's been getting some really good reactions.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. The fans are getting behind him. They are really liking Jay being out there on his own. So yeah, I definitely could see him wanting to stay on his own. And hopefully he does.
And he does have to prove himself. I mean, he's in a locker room right now of people that he doesn't even care, that he didn't even know about, you know? He the whole storyline with Sammy and Kevin and, you know, Jay with Cody, with the Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre and just a little bit of everybody. It's going to be interesting. I don't know where they're going to go with it. And I don't know who's going to go back to SmackDown because apparently someone's got to go to SmackDown, or even though the draft is basically, you know.
Somebody has to be traded, basically.
Right.
And I'd look for that to be Cody simply because taking Jey Uso, in reality, you're taking a top-tier superstar. And you're going to have to trade a top-tier superstar. So I look for that to be Cody. And at the same time, that would help with setting up a whole Cody Rhodes Roman Reigns rematch.
Right. That's another thing. I know we're going to get off topic here. Roman hasn't been seen for a while. Is that a bad thing? Is that bad? I mean, are we forgetting about Roman Reigns, or?
I don't know that they're letting you forget about him. Because he's always there in the back of your mind. But I don't know. It's for the championship standpoint, I think it's a bad thing because you should see your champion more than just at every other pay-per-view or whatever, You should see him during the week. You should, even if they just had him pop up on the screen and say something, just don't just totally let him go to the wayside.
And I will admit, also on SmackDown, Jimmy is given some of the. He had me cracking up this past Friday when he was talking to Paul Heyman backstage. He's like, all of a sudden he just breaks into his like, and I got little brother telling me you ain't out the bloodline until we tell you out the bloodline. And then you got Paul Heyman, so you're not in the bloodline. You're not in the bloodline. Just they're both working great, with the exception of the graphics department. On Jimmy's debut by himself, they put 3 M's in his name. I don't know if you caught that. Someone sent that to me. He's like, did they really just do that? Did they really just put this on TV? This 3 M's? But Susie said that she thinks that Jay and Drew would be a cool tag team. I don't think that's going to happen. But
I don't look for that. They're doing the whole heel angle with Drew right now.
Yeah, I think he's gonna go heel, and they're pushing more Jay as a face. So I could see Drew and Jay having a match here soon. And Susie also weighed in that Roman apparently is kind of taking Bray's death a little bit hard because of they were friends. I would assume that a lot of people have taken because it was so shocking and so sudden. I do know that Roman went down to, I believe he lives in Tampa, and presented the blue SmackDown title, the blue Universal title, the one that he debuted, and gave it to him. We got our friend Jared in the house. Apparently he misses seeing me. But I can't take his opinion very well. I can't believe that, because he is also a fan of the Guns. So that's gonna get him to come back at me. I know he's gonna say something about that. And Susie said that Grayson Waller using SpongeBob stuff looks like Squidward. So have we come to the conclusion? Is Jay going to join? Jay is not going to join the Bloodline.
Yeah, I don't think he will.
And this is my friend Scott. What do I think? We already talked about we just talked about Nia, but I will say that I am not a fan of her coming back. I know that you are, and but hey, that's okay. And now he hates seeing me because I also like Gargano. I do like Johnny Gargano. What is wrong with Johnny Gargano? Do you have a problem with Johnny Gargano? Or are you gonna take Jared's side, the resident heel?
I think I'll stay in the middle of the road on that one.
And yes, he did return on a house show to get pinned by Omos. I do know that. I mean,
he's definitely not my favorite, but he's not the most disliked either. So.
I personally think he needs to come back and team with Ciampa as part of DIY again. That's my opinion. But so do you want to fire up the randomizer? I think we got a little bit of time. We can fire up the randomizer.
Oh yeah, let's
fire it up again. We've had 2 good shots. Let's see if we can get 3 in a row. And you know what? I don't think I put this picture in the TV or in the rant. I didn't put this picture in. So, and that's disappointing because it was the Vince McMahon picture with the little with the porn stat. So, if the Endeavor deal is closed, they are now merged with UFC. parent company, and they're now called TKO. They rang the bell on the New York Stock Exchange. Vince McMahon is still going to be the chairman of the board of the WWE side of the deal. And up on stage, you had the people from Endeavor. You had Vince McMahon. There was a couple of the wrestlers there. Hunter was there. Nick Khan was there. Dana White was actually there too, which was a little weird. But do you think there'll be any significant? What significantly will change within the WWE, if anything?
Well, if you go with the rumor mill, it's rumored that once Endeavor has completely taken over, Triple H will no longer be a part of really anything. And I think that's going to be a very negative if that is the case, because he's been doing a hell of a job with creative, and he's really brought fans back to the viewing, because I think they were starting to lose fans before he stepped back in. And he's really brought some good stories and some surprises to the screen. So I think that would be a very big negative, to take him completely out of things, especially if you're going to put Vince back in charge, because Vince he doesn't want to get out of that old school mentality. And there's nothing wrong with old school wrestling. I mean, don't get me wrong there, but he's stuck there, and wrestling has evolved, and people want to see different things, and people want to see more tag matches and stuff, and Vince doesn't want to do so many tag matches, and Vince is just more one-on-one. Let's get in there, let's fight, and people want to see a little more than that.
And then he's got that thing for the big guys. He can't get out of his Hulk Hogan state. He can't get out of his people looking like Hulk Hogan. I mean, yeah. I don't think anything is initially going to change. It's going to be very interesting because the TV deals are about up, and they both need to be renegotiated with NBC Universal and Fox, and apparently Fox is showing no desire to pay for the updated price that they want. I think Triple H is still going to be involved for a while, because Vince can't bully the board anymore, because the report I read today that Endeavor owns 51%. Vince actually only has like a 16% stake in the company now. It's split between other Endeavor people. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't think anything's gonna happen. But Vince is always gonna want to have put his nose into things. So I was saying, when Triple H was running NXT, if Triple H ever broke out on his own and started his own wrestling company, would people follow it? Would people follow? Do you think people would follow Hunter to his own company? To a new?
Yes, I believe for the most part they would. I think he could be very successful with it, and I would actually welcome seeing that if they are going to take him out of creative. Because, like I say, you look at a lot of what's happened since Vince stepped down and Hunter took over creative, and you can already start to see places that Vince puts his hands in it a lot of times, and things are just total chaos when he puts his hands in it. So I think if they do take Hunter out, that if him and Stephanie were to go together and start their own thing, I do believe people would follow.
And I could see it more being like the old school black and gold NXT. I mean, I think that was when he was running that creative down there for that era of NXT. Now I know he had some great wrestlers, so you have a good talent base, but his shows, I mean, and Triple H is a minimalist. That's why some people get left off of shows, because he's not one to load up a 10-match show like a Tony Khan or a Vince McMahon. He's not like everyone needs to get on the show. Everyone needs to get on the show. You give wrestler like I remember his NXT pay-per-views, they were always like five matches. There was one that was like 6 matches, and all the time was expanded so they could tell more of a story.
Yeah, and I was about to say something that just went out of my head. Oh yeah, okay. I know what it was now. You look at a lot of the wrestlers who, when Vince was in charge of things, that were saying they wanted out of their contract or they didn't want to work for WWE anymore, and there were several of them. And the second Vince was gone and Hunter took over, a lot of them were, hey, give me a new contract. Hey, I want to come back, because they're loyal to Hunter. And I believe that if Hunter was to leave WWE, you would have a lot of the superstars who, if he started up his own thing, would say, I want to be over there. I don't want to be here anymore. And Vince would lose some top-notch talent, I believe.
I mean, and also, when Eric Young is a prime example of that. He was going to sign a WWE contract, but then they announced that Vince was coming back, and he's like, "Yeah, no, let's get me out of this, and I'll do my waiting period." And he went back to Impact, obviously, with part of Team Canada, and Impact is celebrating 1,000 episodes this week, so that's going to be kind of fun to watch. I mean, but yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't want to say the future is uncertain, but it kind of is, because if they're not on Fox, the rumor is that, one, they're not married to the whole Friday night SmackDown. They're not married to Friday night airing SmackDown. I don't think there's any other night of the week they would want to air SmackDown. Maybe Thursday, but they're not going to go up against NXT on Tuesdays unless they move. And of course, they could always move NXT depending on the deal. But I've heard that Amazon and even Disney has had a little bit of interest in it.
Well, Disney's had interest in a while. I mean, Disney wanted to buy it when it was up for sale before Endeavor bought it, and they were one of the top contenders then. So, I could definitely see it actually. If they lose the Fox and NBC deal, because NBC owns USA, so
they also own Peacock. They're it's not exclusively them, but Peacock is their streaming service. So
yeah, if they lose the deal with NBC and Fox, I could almost see them going to a streaming service. And being exclusive to streaming services. And I honestly, I think that would be a bad thing. It would be a bad thing for wrestling, at least, because I don't know how many people would follow to a streaming service. I think you look at it, if AEW is still on cable TV, I think the viewership for AEW would go up if they went exclusively to a streaming service.
Yeah, because you wouldn't be able to. The ratings would be skewed because you're not getting ratings real time. You're not like ratings are people actually tuning in and watching the show while it's happening, and I think they also include some DVR stuff too. A stream, you could go watch it anytime. I mean, they have the live portions of all these streaming services now,
right? But at the same time, a lot of times streaming services, if you're paying for a streaming service so that you can watch something, a lot of times there isn't commercial interruptions in it, and so you don't get that commercial funding from there. So you've got to get the funding from your streamers. And
but you know that they would try to find some way to they would probably end up selling their own commercials instead of like the national commercial. You know what I mean, for the TV channels. I mean,
yeah, because I mean, like the Peacock pay-per-views. Now, fortunately, with the cable TV that I've got, Peacock is included in that for free. And now it's not the upper tiers of it where you get the commercial-free stuff, but I can watch the pay-per-views for free on Peacock because of the cable TV subscription I have. But for the most part, I don't have any streaming services. So, I don't know that I would go out and pay for a streaming service to watch WWE. I'd probably just tune into AEW and go, well, I guess I just ain't going to pay attention to what's going on over there.
And that's something I always was like wondering is like, why isn't Tony Khan? I mean, maybe it's not negotiated in their contract yet, but why isn't Tony Khan using the Warner Brother Discovery Max for a streaming service? Because there's a lot of stuff that Tony could put on there. You know what I mean? They could put all the pay-per-views on there. I mean,
well, and there is some places you can stream the AEW pay-per-views. But even when you stream them, they're still $50-$60 a piece.
Mm-hmm. And that was a big consternation around All In and All Out because they were two separate pay-per-views. You had to buy All In for $50-$60, and then you had to buy All Out for $50-$60, and that was in 2 weeks. I don't know about you, but sometimes money's a little tight, and you don't have $120 just laying around to buy two pay-per-views.
Oh, I didn't have the the $60 to buy one of the pay-per-views, so I didn't buy either of them. But I wanted to see them, but I just couldn't afford it.
I didn't either. I follow some streamers on TikTok and stuff, and they showed highlights of it. So I got the gist of everything, but we're in a different world now. The TV network TV and cable TV is not the way it used to be. So I think we're going to a fully digital streaming world. However, not everyone's going to be able to do that.
Well, and it's just like, and I know this is getting a little off topic, but it's just like when you look at NFL Sunday Ticket, they took it away from DirecTV, where you could get it if you had a subscription to DirecTV, you could get it for like $100 or so for the season. If you were in college, you could pay $99 and even stream it when you were in college. But other than that, you couldn't get just a streaming package. Now you can stream it with YouTube, but it's going to cost you $500 or $600.
Yeah, I know. I
know they do have a college rate, which if anybody has a college kid they'd like to offer up so I can get the rate, I'd appreciate it. But I'm not going to pay $600 to stream NFL football. I end up, I'm a Raiders fan. I love to watch the Raiders games. I end up going on Facebook and watching the streams that people are streaming from their home TVs.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't have a team in football, so it's kind of like I just follow it for my fantasy football. For my fantasy football, we're not going to talk about that because it was a bad week because I had Travis Kelce, and anyway. But my cable company does offer the NFL Red Zone, where it's the 7 hours of of commercial-free TV, and they show all the touchdowns and all the highlights and everything. And I like that because you get to bounce from game to game. And
if you don't want to watch one certain team, that's good.
Yes.
But when you're like me, and it's the only way you can see the game is by getting something like Sunday Ticket, or you can pay for the NFL Plus or whatever, and then watch the replay of it, which what good is that? Because by then you know who won. You don't get to watch it. And I look for the same thing to eventually happen with wrestling, to where if you want to watch wrestling, then you're going to have to pay a streaming service. And it's ridiculous to me.
Yeah, I mean, it is. But I think that's just, unfortunately, that's just kind of the way the world is going. Unfortunately, maybe that's because I'm just getting old and I'm just tired of everything. But it just, I don't know. I'm at a loss for words right now. So
well, since neither of our guests are backstage, you want to fire up the
yeah, let me fire. You read my mind. I was just gonna fire up the randomizer here. Let's get this. Let's see if we can have a fourth one that doesn't continuously play. Ooh, Gunta, to quote our colleague Renee Martinez, Gunta. He's now got the longest intercontinental title reign. Who should dethrone him? Chad Gable. That's that. I'm going to die on this hill because I want them at whatever their next pay-per-view. It's not Payback. It's is it Fastlane? I don't know whatever the next pay-per-view is. I'm sorry, premium live event, whatever you want to call it. I want Gunther and Chad Gable in a 30-minute Iron Man match. That's what I want. I didn't know I wanted it until I heard it, until it was suggested to me, and now I can't get it out of my head. And I think that's what should happen. And I think Chad Gable should win, and Gunther should be elevated, and challenge Rollins. But I'm not quite sure he's going to get through Shinsuke. So I don't know. I don't know. Anyway,
yeah,
my indecisiveness.
I'm really not sure who should take it. I don't believe personally that Chad Gable is the person who should, just because looking at Chad Gable, I don't know that he's somebody that should be able to beat Gunther. Most of the people that you look at and say, now that's somebody who should be able to beat Gunther, they're people who probably should be going for other titles other than Intercontinental. Sorry, too many titles going through my head here. But just like Cody Rhodes, that's somebody who should be able to beat Gunther, but he should be going for the world title or one of those.
Susie said Jey Uso. She said Cody at first, but Jey Uso, that's not that. I could get behind that to build, because I know why they moved Jey. This is going to go completely off topic. I know why they moved Jey. They split Jey and Jimmy from Raw and SmackDown. I think my thing is Jey and Jimmy should not have any interaction with each other until the Royal Rumble, and they meet when they're in the Royal Rumble, and that sets them on the path to what they both have said that they want. They want a match versus each other at WrestleMania. So maybe putting Jey against Gunther temporarily gets him away from everything else. But does that seem more like a demotion for Jey?
I could see possibly Jey being one of them to do it, and that would make sense. But there again, he's one of them that when I look at, he should be going for the top titles. He should be feuding with people like Seth Rollins, and not, well, I won't say not Gunther, because Gunther actually would be a pretty good feud for him, but not necessarily for Intercontinental title. I think he's higher than that, because up until Gunther has held it, the Intercontinental title had kind of fallen by the wayside and really had been degraded.
Both
But
secondary titles. The U.S. title too is the same way.
yeah,
I mean, it's kind of in a back. It's kind of just in the back. At least Gunther has kind of brought the Intercontinental title back up to kind of some kind of a prestige. You know what I mean? It's not all the way up there yet, but I mean, I could also see Jay. Whenever they figure out what they're going to do with the Seth Rollins Shinsuke thing, or if one of the Judgment Day is going to cash in the Money in the Bank to win the title, I could see Jay having a feud with whoever the heel champion is, Shinsuke or Damian, or if somehow Finn finagles his way in there to win the title. I could see that being a feud, and they're setting the ground. They are laying the groundwork. So I was really hoping Honky Tonk Man would have came out there on the to say that he was not the greatest Intercontinental champion of all time, and then it was him and something with a guitar. I don't know. Maybe that's just my old school. I wouldn't even know what Honky Tonk Man's doing right now. So
yeah, I'm not exactly sure what he's doing either, but I could have seen something like that back in the day, though. That would have been cool. But yeah, I'm not sure who would be the one to really dethrone Gunther that would make sense and continue to carry that title at the level it's at or elevate it more. That shouldn't already be going for the higher titles.
Yeah, it's kind of like the women's. I mean, it's almost like the women's division, the Intercontinental division, kind of has Gunther and everybody else. It's not like there's like an heir apparent to the title.
Yeah, they've kind of painted themselves in a corner with several titles, in my opinion. Because that one, really the way they've done with Roman, it's just they painted themselves into a corner of how can we take it off of him, not have the fans get really ticked off, and have it all make sense and not be degrading one or the other at the same time.
Right.
And you're not. It's not going to happen at this point because they've just built Gunther up too much. And the same with Roman. They built him up so high. How can they take it off of him and have it make sense?
And with the Roman thing, it's like at this point, it kind of has to be Cody at this point. I mean, is there anybody? But they kind of blew that. They put doubt in Cody in fans' minds with Cody by not giving him the title at 39, and
exactly.
And I know why they did it, because everyone was expecting it. Everyone was. I was expecting it. I went in the entire time thinking Cody Rhodes is going to win this. This is completely a layup. There's no way that Roman's walking out with the title. Roman walks away with the title. Right now, Cody's got to be the person. However, I don't know. And with Gunther, the same way, is like you're almost going to have like a transition. You almost hate to say it, that you have to maybe have some kind of a transitional champion of like a super big name. And I don't want to say this because this is going to make someone I know very, very angry. Maybe use John Cena as a buffer to get it from Gunther to somebody else. I don't know. I don't know what your opinion on that one is. I heard a train going in your background, so I don't know if anyone in the comments could Susie Haas is like that Rhea Ripley should be. That would be interesting because that would be a throwback to China, but I don't think that would work because Gunther China beat Jeff Jarrett, who was a smaller big name, but smaller kind of statured guy. So I don't know. What are you thinking? Are you're on mute? So
yeah. That's what I say. I just don't know who they can get to do it to make it make sense and not degrade Gunther. You know, in my opinion, at this point, it's looking like Chad Gable's going to be the one to do it. But to me, that just you're extremely elevating Chad Gable to make him somebody who is able to truly defeat Gunther, because it has to be by submission or pinfall if he's going to take the title. It can't be the count out like he did last time. So to truly defeat him, in my opinion, you are really elevating Chad Gable and just really knocking Gunther off of the pedestal you've got him on and really downgrading him. And that's just my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong. Others may feel it's perfect, or others may think that, Chad Gable is perfect for it, but I think it's a downgrade to Gunther to do that.
And let's not lie. I mean, another Chad Gable Gunther match was not a bad thing, because all the matches they've had beforehand have been really good. So I mean so it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Match wise, it's just I kind of agree. I don't think you. I don't think he's the one that's going to defeat him. Like I said, you may have to use a transitional champion, like someone like a Jey Uso or a Cody Rhodes, just to kind of bridge that gap. But you also then have to have a clear plan with Gunther too, because if Gunther loses the title and then all of a sudden decides he doesn't want to, doesn't want to do any go any further, I don't know. There's no real answer to anything, is there? I mean, honestly.
A lot, like say, a lot of this stuff they've basically painted themselves into a corner, and I don't see a clear answer to get them out of it. I just really don't.
They've done that with a couple of titles, because you kind of know, you kind of see where the United States title is going with Rey Mysterio having it. Santos is going to do something, and he's going to he's going to do it first. He's going to send it to Santos. I mean, that's obvious where they're going with it. The tag titles are the same way. I don't know where you go with the tag titles. I mean,
well, tag, they haven't so much backed themselves in the corner yet. I mean, now that they've taken it off of KO, I mean, there's still all that friction, with Finn. And so I could see where they could potentially lose it. And that one would be pretty easy to do. But even the US, that one would be pretty simple, because you turn Santos and Rey against each other because Rey got the shot when Santos was supposed to have it. That one can be pretty easy to do.
But like you said, they've painted Roman into a corner. They've painted Gunther into a corner. They haven't quite painted Seth into a corner, but they might be getting. They're unfortunately they're working there. But there was a question that you sent in that was really interesting, and I think that deserves a talk. So we're not going to fire at the randomizer. I'm going to throw up the picture if I can find it real quick. You sent this picture in, one of the pop-up powerbomb, and then I think that is a mid-destroyer, if I'm not mistaken. Once finishing moves are used lots of once used finishing moves are used as common spots now. Do you feel the beneficial or hurts the matches today? Okay. I have my problem. There's one move I have a problem with. It's the Canadian Destroyer, because I remember seeing the Canadian Destroyer for the first time on Impact with Petey Williams, and I thought it was the greatest move of all time. And now it's used in every match, it seems like. Was it Orange Cassidy and not Ray Phoenix, the other Penta?
Yeah.
They did the triple destroyer spot.
And they did a match where the destroyer was used like 2 or 3 times in the match,
Yeah.
and it was just completely no sold, and it just it depends on what side of the coin once again you look at. Really, I mean, you hate to see some moves such as the Canadian destroyer. You hate to see that one downgraded to just your everyday spot in a match. I mean, it does make the match more of a high impact match. It does make your competitors nowadays look like they have evolved from the days that stuff was these devastating moves. And from that aspect, it is a good thing. And your younger generation, they watch AEW and stuff because they do tend to do stuff like that and make their matches higher impact. And that's what you have to do to make those matches like that. Now, WWE, you don't see it quite as much over there with some moves. But then again, how many times do you see a tombstone pile driver on the ring apron? It's something that is being used all the time, and something that was devastating when the Undertaker gave it to you. So they've moved up with the competitors, and they make the competitors look stronger. Now, there are some moves that should have never been a finisher to begin with. I mean, look at Hulk Hogan's leg drop. That should have never been a finisher. Who is going to stay down from a leg drop? Even back then, if they were wussy enough that the leg drop's going to keep them down, they shouldn't have been in the ring to begin with. So that one, okay, I can see that becoming a common spot because, in my opinion, it shouldn't have been one to begin with. But
you just take Hulk Hogan, I think.
actually, Hulk Hogan used to be one of my absolute favorites. I absolutely loved Hulk Hogan. But, now that I've gotten older, I can see where a lot of the stuff he did just absolutely makes no sense. And I mean, maybe it's just in today's atmosphere, it makes no sense. And that's the way I'm looking at it from. But your old school wrestling fans, yes, they're going to be upset because they want their old school wrestling. And that's where WWE comes in. And for them, yeah, they don't want to see these finishers become an everyday spot. But your newer fan, they do want to see it. And that's why WWE has the niche that they have and the diehard fans that they have, and AEW has the diehard fans they have, is because of the two different styles and their use of stuff like that.
I read a funny story where Hulk Hogan said that his tailbone was, after doing all those leg drops all throughout the years, his tailbone is just shot. I mean, and one of the local wrestlers, he used to do a leg drop off. He used to do a leg drop off of the top rope. And he legit said that he is an inch shorter after years of doing that spot. And I jokingly asked him, like, so you're going to break that back out? He's like, the hell I am. I am not breaking that back out ever again. So
a leg drop from the top rope, I can see where that might keep somebody down. You're coming off the top with it and going to hit them on the mat. But just running up and dropping your leg, I don't see where that was supposed to really keep people down. And now leg drop is just a common thing. So,
yeah. So,
it really depends on what era you're looking from. And this is actually something that this past weekend I was talking with Nightmare Jones and Kaylin Patrick of WDWA. You know,
Mhm.
the three of us were standing around talking about this same thing, and that's kind of what what we came to was, Nightmare Jones said himself that the Canadian Destroyer, no selling that. How can you no sell a Canadian Destroyer? It's not right. But then Kaylin was on the other side of the coin, where hey, by doing that, it did not disappoint. That match was awesome. I've never been disappointed by Orange Cassidy, and it's awesome. Yeah, and then I'm kind of in between. I do like AEW. I do like their style to a certain point. Honestly, I think their use of some things, like John Moxley getting busted open every single match.
Oh, I have an opinion. I have a high opinion of that. I come from the air. Well, blood should be used very rarely, or it has to have meaning to use. I mean, I like John Moxley as a wrestler. However, it has to have meaning to use. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And if you use it right, it adds to a match.
Right. Because
John Moxley is at the point where, to me, it doesn't add to the match. It's just he needs to cut back on it. Really. Can you imagine how scarred he's going to be few years from now?
He's gonna have what Abdullah the Butcher has. I mean, where all he's got to do is just kind of tap it and it just starts spewing out blood. It's just I mean, there are times I know the WWE has a no blood rule. However, there are times that I've sat back and it was like, yeah, that would work with a little bit of color. You know what I mean? You just not pouring buckets. You remember the Eddie Guerrero match with him and was it JBL where he nicked I think he nicked like an artery or something, and that was a lot of blood.
Yeah. But that there again, even though it was a lot of blood and probably more than was really needed, but it was something that doesn't happen that often.
Right.
And so it ultimately added to the match. Now, like I say, when you're doing it every single week, it's too much. And
eventually you're going to need to get a transfusion. I mean, and the bleeding on TV, that's not needed every week. I mean, I don't need someone busted open in the opening match of Dynamite. Okay, let's be serious. I don't need that. That's not what it should be.
Of course, how many TV shows do you watch on a weekly basis that you don't see blood in them these days? So,
yeah, I'm used to watching things on TikTok now where like segments of shows, like if it's a medical show, they put these segments of the TV show so you can watch along or whatever, but they have to like either blur out the blood or because TikTok doesn't like that. So I don't know. You're right. The moves nowadays are, and maybe when we get our guest on, we can ask him his opinion on this, because I mean he's been around for several years about about moves now that used to finish people off aren't necessarily the finishers anymore. You know what I mean? It's
and one of the things Kay kind of pointed out is, I said it might not be too bad if they were at least coming up with new finishers to replace these with. But you're not seeing a lot of new finishers. And he brought up then, how do you make a new finisher? What can you do that's not already done?
That is true.
And he had a point. You can only do so much in a wrestling match. And when you do, once it's done and people see it, then, obviously somebody else is going to say, well, I like that. and they're going to try it themselves, and it's going to become a common thing. And so, how much can you do to make something new?
There's only so many ways the human body can go. So I mean, and
well, not just that. I mean, there's only so many ways you can come off the top rope. There's only so many ways that you can take a person down to the mat. There's only so many ways you can throw them in the air and have them land. How can you do it and make it something that hasn't been seen before?
I mean, we're at the stage now that I'm not sure that there can be a way. You know what I mean?
Now, as these guys who did it, Undertaker with the Tombstone pile driver, and a lot of these other guys with their finishing moves, when they did it, yes, it was original. Yes, it was inventive. But they were coming up back when you didn't have a lot of these moves. So now they've brought them in, but how can you build on them? It's almost impossible.
Because I remember when I first saw, like I said, when I first saw the Canadian Destroyer, I was like in awe. I was like, how can he get his body? How can you do a flipping pile driver and not completely like break your neck and miss it? So when it was one of those, only Petey Williams doing it. It was a thing of beauty. Now it's just kind of like, okay, I guess if you want to go, I guess we'll put that in the opening spot of the match. So yeah, I don't know.
And you're lucky if you get a 2 count out of it now.
Well, as you saw with Orange Cassidy and Penta, they both jumped. Both of them jumped right up and decided to
yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily no sell. They kind of did the wobbly leg thing, but I don't know if you're at a Canadian Destroyer. If it's me and I'm taking that, I'm probably gonna request that you take me out on a stretcher, because that's just the way it's gonna be. Not that I would ever take a Canadian Destroyer and so anyway.
Cool. All right. Well, I believe our guest is backstage. if you are ready to get to it.
Yeah. Before we do that, let's shout out our sponsors. I'm going to go ahead and shout out our sponsors real quick here.
Definitely.
Royal Mills Transportation, the one and only Dewan Mills, the CEO. Rathbun Engraving, those beautiful Wrestle Talk podcast mugs, just $20. Nobleman's Barber Lounge, KC, Missouri. Kincaid Arcade at the Oak Park Mall. I-70 Sports Media with the one and only, the Maestro Jeremy Carp. Little Popeye Designs, those beautiful Wrestle Talk podcast tumblers, and the one and only FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group. And you want to show everybody one of those tumblers real quick? Beautiful, 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 beautiful. All right, it is time to bring on our featured guest for the week. He wrestles for OVW, and he's going to take part in the Austin Fury tournament in JICW, and also going to be part of the upcoming OVW series on Netflix called Wrestlers. And he is the one and only Big Whiskey, Jared Kripke.
Yeah, you got my theme song. What's
YouTube,
up, guys? How's it going?
YouTube does wonders, and I put in Jared Kripke. I put in your name, and one of the first things that came up was your OVW theme song. So along with the first match, I think that came up was you and Austin Fury in a chairs match from JICW. I don't know how many. I don't know how long ago it was, but Jared, welcome to the Wrestle Talk podcast. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing fantastic. We got a lot to talk about with you because we got that show coming up, and then we got JICW and a couple of other things. But we were just talking about wrestling moves that used to be finishing moves that are basically, I don't want to get into too many terms, but basically like a first spot in the match, like a like a destroyer, like a Canadian destroyer. How do you feel like wrestling moves are involved? Do you like using like Canadian destroyers all over, like several times in a row, or
so no, like let's see. I guess the best way to say it is you just got to make everything make sense. You know, like if it makes sense to do 6 Canadian destroyers in a row, there's probably a story you could tell where that's, you know, but there's not very many. So there's not as many as the indies will have you to believe. You know, they're always trying to, fit crazy moves like that. But no, like the Rush Division champion, Cal Hero, his finishing move is a running knee lift. Like a guy, I'm bent over, boom, a running knee, like a Triple H knee.
Oh.
That's his finisher. I think it's like a hip attack, but still, it's just, it's literally just, old school as heck, but it makes sense, and it makes sense every time he hits it, and it's believable. It's a finish.
And explain what the OVW rest, because I know somebody that goes down to OVW all the time.
It's not about weight limits; it's about no limits. Oh wait, no, that's the wrong company.
I explained it was very similar to the X division, the TNA X division. It's their Rush division. So yeah, so
it's not. It is mostly cruiserweights as well. It's a mixture of a lot of different things, but it's but yeah, it's a lot to my and how I've experienced it. It's been a lot of like the X division of the Impact era, the TNA era.
And that was why we went. That was the true X division time was probably one of the best eras. But with Samoa Joe, you think the X division is more like a light heavyweight title, but you got Samoa Joe doing things that he shouldn't probably be doing because he's a bigger guy.
No, and he's still going to this day at Wembley. Even that's insane.
Yeah. So, how did you get your start in wrestling? Just out of curiosity, what made you want to join this crazy business?
So I was always a super fan, like a smart mark, whatever you want to call it. Like I was when I was a little kid, like 10-year-old or whatever. I was on the wrestling forums online, and we would cosplay wrestling matches by posting GIFs of moves, and I would always win by because I'd always post Chuck Taylor gifs, and he'd be doing like the awful waffle or the Omega Driver. Nobody could beat that, so I'd always win. So Chuck Taylor
Chuck Taylor's still doing the awful waffle now.
I know. My dream, he is legitimately my dream match. Like I've gotten a lot of my dreams come true through the past 9 years, but that's something I'm still looking to make happen.
I still remember, and here locally in the St. Louis wrestling scene, I remember Chuck Taylor making some little kid cry for some. I don't even know what it was. This was back when he was.
Was it that GIF that I've seen where he's just like staring at a kid and he's just like making him cry?
Probably because he used to be pretty like a hard, but it's funny to still see him going around because I remember this was like 10 years. This was a long time ago. So, and Chuck Taylor's been around for a while. So, have you gotten any work as an extra on like AEW or WWE when they come into wherever you live in that area where you live?
Well, no. They actually flew me out to Orlando, and I got to do a 2-day tryout at the Performance Center. And then for Impact, that was for WWE. And I got the whole treatment. It was pretty cool. I got the flight, got the car, got the hotel, everything. It was pretty awesome. Got to meet Andre Chase, Ray Ripley, a bunch of name. I mean, I don't need to name drop it, but whatever. I got to meet a lot of people. It was really cool, really good learning experience. And then for Impact, it was at the School of Morton, Ricky Morton, Rock and Roll Express. It was at the School of Morton, and it's just funny how my career has kind of gone full circle. So at the Impact tryout, Crazy Steve was there. He was one of the guys that was doing the watching the matches. He was the first name I wrestled, nice. The guy that's on TV I wrestled. But So like to kind of bring it, and then same with like OVW. Like I said, when I was a smart fan on the wrestling forums, with cosplaying Chuck Taylor, and then I got older. I was working in a factory at a job that I could have retired from. Like worked there my whole life, and I was like, yeah, I'm young. I'm on my parents' insurance for a few more years. Why don't I why don't I try something fun? And I always wanted to be a pro wrestler. I did MMA for years. I'm a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. I knew I was going to do something wrestling related, sports related.
And not to jump around. What's it like walking into OVW and Al Snow is there, and it's Al Snow that you've seen on TV. I mean,
yeah, it's you walk in and you see the pictures on the walls of Randy Orton, John Cena, Shelton Benjamin, Brock Lesnar, all that, and it's it's just like, oh, this is the same place, Cody Rhodes. And then not only that, it's Al Snow and Doug Basham that are running it. So yeah, it's surreal. What's it like? What was it like the first time? Intimidating. I'm a guy that looks like me in a room full of a bunch of body guys. But I had a lot to prove, and I've been there for 3 years, so I must have proved something right.
You must be doing something right, Haas. You want to go ahead? I know Haas has got some. He's been doing some research on you, so you might want to be a little bit scared of what these questions are going to be. So,
yeah, Basham calls me, like when because I stand there and quiet and I listen. I don't really speak up that much, and he'll sometimes I'm too quiet, and he'll call me Kripke.
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 But yeah, I've been doing some research here, and I've got to start with this one. I actually shared it with Chris before the show, and he said he's interested to find out this one too.
Oh God!
While doing my research, I came across that you placed third in a catfish wrestling contest. What exactly is a catfish wrestling contest?
Oh,
and please tell us about that experience.
So this is actually part of the OVW summer tour last year. I don't know if Netflix caught this one because it was in the middle of nowhere, Kentucky, like at one of their town festivals. There's this big swimming pool filled with water, and it's just you and another guy having a stare off. And then they just drop a catfish, big old catfish the size of a desk, like the size in the middle of y'all. And you just got to run, you got to going through the water trying to grab it. And the first one to pick it up and put it, lift it above their head. That's literally the rules. First one to grab it and then lift it above their head is the winner. And so at one point, we're splashing water at each other. We're both, trying to get the catfish, slipping through our hands. I just climb up on the side of the pool and I just drop an elbow, right in the middle of the pool, and I try. I was so close to catching it. Like if I could have, that would have been, I would have been the next Tiger King if when the cameras got that.
The things you do in the middle of nowhere towns in Kentucky and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I came across that and I was like, I've got to know more.
Oh yeah, there's a video of it. Freya the Slayer. She has a video of it. I'm gonna have to get it from her. Yeah, it's peak comedy.
I probably would. If I was there, I probably would have been dying. I probably would have been on the floor laughing because you guys probably played it up pretty well too by talking smack on each other. That smack talk was going to be
Joe Mack, the Overman, the OVW Tag Team Champion, the just got crowned, the newly crowned. He was in the tournament as well, and big Canadian, 7 foot tall Canadian guy. Just trash talking these hillbilly boys. It was pretty funny. It was good.
And you mentioned the Netflix documentary. So what exactly can you tell us about that documentary, and what was filming the documentary like, with all the cameras around and everything while you were trying to basically do, I guess, your normal thing?
Well, I didn't do my normal thing. I live. There was a whole tour going on with over like I think it was 40 dates, 40 different dates over the summer. So we were doing the full on like tour schedule. Um, so we're basically doing like the WWE European tour for like 3 months straight, 4 months straight. Like that schedule mixed with Netflix cameras that were produced by BBC Studios. So it's like like very very high pressure stuff. Like super expensive cameras. Crews everywhere. I haven't seen it. No, they're actually probably I don't know anybody from OVW that has actually seen it.
No, they didn't do it. They didn't do it like a special screening for you guys, or like let you see it ahead of time.
No, I don't.
So you're gonna be. Are you worried there's going to be anything on there that's not that's gonna that's
that's the issue is that it is reality TV documentary. It's show business, so the magic of editing. They can make me look like anything. so did you do like sit down interviews with it too during the whole time about talking about it, or was it all just? So I did a few interviews. Like I said, I don't know what they're gonna show. They got my my daughter. She's 10 months old. She's crawling around somewhere here. She's they got like when she was still in her mama's belly. Like we did like a gender reveal live on TV. I like that kind of stuff. I don't want to say too much, but that's on my YouTube channel, so I can't.
Right. That's your property.
Yeah, exactly. But I can't get my camera right. There you go.
You're good.
So that there's a lot of that kind of stuff that I'm hoping they show that makes it look like I poured my whole life into it. My personal life, my family life, I lived in the wrestle house with a bunch of other wrestlers, and living life on the road, living off of ramen noodles for months and days at a time. So like, I'm hoping they show the struggle and, how much heart, soul, and just everything I poured into this business over these past almost decade now, 8 years, 9 years.
And I think Haas actually has another question that's based around your like daughter and family life.
Yeah, you talk about ramen noodle stage and your daughter and everything. While I was doing my research, I actually came across that you do have 3 children, and at one point you kind of went through an uncrustable stage. And so, what's the biggest struggle when trying to raise a family and be a professional wrestler at the same time?
Babysitting, like getting because my Victoria, my girlfriend, she runs a YouTube channel called Skyconic, where most of my indie shows that I'm on, she also films like the whole show and will post it on her YouTube and and get some promotion for the channels or for the shows as well. Like Journey, whenever she's there, she usually records for them. But when I'm backstage doing my big whiskey thing, she's doing her Skyconic thing. The biggest struggle is keeping the kiddos all in line, especially with a baby. So that's been the biggest struggle is
But how old are your kids?
I got a one's less than a year old, and then we got 2 under 10.
Okay. Well, so the under 10, kids in the locker room, and they get to know the wrestlers, and they probably joke around with the wrestlers just as much as you joke around with. The wrestlers too. They're probably more well liked than you. No, just
no joke. But, like Haley J's kid is probably gonna have more screen time than I do on Netflix. Like he's a character. He's a character back in the locker room.
But so back to OVW. We'll talk about the show again in a little bit. But there's a referee from the St. Louis area that just started with OVW just recently, and you know him, HT Daniels.
Oh yeah, he's awesome.
I mean, a good referee it's sometimes hard to find, isn't it? I mean, honestly.
Yeah. Referees like him, Josh Patterson, Jake from OVW. Like those are some of my favorite refs to have. It's hard to find.
You look at the run sheet and then you look who the referee is going to be, and you're like, oh, okay, this is going to be he'll do anything I ask him to do, and
it kind of depends. It kind of helps change the quality of the match sometimes.
Because a bad referee can ruin a match. I mean, I've refed in the past, like back in the previous life, but it's tough. It's tough in there sometimes. You know what I mean?
Chris, Nightmare Jones is not here to defend himself. Now, quit talking about it.
No, well, I took me a second. I caught that joke, but no. HD is a good guy. HD is a good guy. He learned up here in St. Louis, and he's getting.
Oh, okay.
He's getting love down. Apparently, everyone likes him down there. So. And he hasn't been. He hasn't been.
He's only been there a few times, but he's been killing it. Yeah, he's been doing good.
Yeah, he's got that spot where the referee doesn't go in front because you got the hard cam because everything's at the Danny Davis Arena and they got that hard cam side.
Working the horseshoe, brother.
Working the horseshoe. He very, very rarely does he walk in front of a hard cam. I mean,
no, he doesn't want his butt seen at all. He doesn't like camera.
Well, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard when you have a camera around the ringside. The refs always end up in the wrong spot. It's like the camera's a magnet for the referee's butt,
Yeah.
But
so true.
What is your first wrestling memory? What can you want back when you were? I assume you were watching when you were a kid. So what was your first wrestling memory?
So like I was a WCW kid when I was a little guy, because my brother Justin he was he was into the Monday Night Wars and we chose the WCW side because it was more family friendly and all that. But so like I have memories of Kevin Nash just being cool, big sexy Kevin Cool, big sexy, big cool. I just remember him, Lon Dart and Rey Mysterio. I don't know if I saw it like when it happened or if I saw it just one of the millions of replays, but that's something that stuck with me when I was a little guy. And then when I had like when I started watching like on my own, like my own choice, I was flipping through the channels and I ran into an episode that was I think it was Randy Orton coming out and talking about the Eddie Guerrero's Lamborghini. Oh, not Lambo. What am I saying? The
Evolution.
Convertible. No, what was his car? It wasn't Lambo. It was
It was a convertible. It was some kind of a convertible. I don't know what kind. Oh
yeah, so. I know I just butchered it. But Eddie Guerrero's Lowrider. There you go. I was like, I know it starts with an L. Oh yeah. Too much whiskey. Ooh, big whiskey. But but yeah, I just remember Randy Orton and just trash talking Eddie Guerrero with his Lowrider on just there in the background, and that was his feud with Rey Mysterio, and that was the thing that kind of like got me. Yeah, I was like, "Ooh, he said Eddie is in hell," and I'm like, "You can't say that. You can't say that."
Yeah, wrestling back then was an interesting spot because that at that time Randy Orton was kind of the cool type heel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everyone loves Rey Mysterio. So Rey Mysterio is still putting on good matches at his age. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard to. I guess maybe it's not hard to believe, but it is kind of hard to believe.
No, he was falling apart back when I was a kid. Like he was walking like bow-legged and could barely move around back in the late 2000s. And then he went to Mexico, got his treatments done, and he's now he's walking like a new man. He's moving around faster than I am. So it is like a miracle and a wonder that he's going at this pace at this age, because there was a few years there where he was nothing but injuries.
And it's kind of funny that Dominic's in the WWE, and I still remember the ladder match for the custody between Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio Jr. of Dominic Mysterio, and
Yeah,
it just,
you might see some inspiration from that if they whatever they show on Netflix, you'll see. But like the I Quit match between Luke Curtis and I last year, yeah, there that whole feud had a little bit of that feud mixed in there.
you gotta draw from the classics. You can't. I mean, there are no real new ideas in wrestling anymore.
Yeah, you guys were talking about like how can you what kind of new moves can you come up with? Like you don't have to you don't have to come up with a new way to do a flip. You don't even have to do a flip. You could just hit them really hard with a clothesline. That could be a finish. And it doesn't.
That is true.
Yeah.
JBL does the clothesline. I mean, it's a clothesline. It's a hard close. I'm not sure I'd want to take it, but
yeah, exactly. Like you take a clothesline from Jack Vaughn and you tell me that that's not going to put you down for 3. Like
Jack Vaughn cracks me up. I mean, I know he gets so much hate on Twitter and on TikTok because he's like quote unquote exposing the business. I'm like, come on, I mean, seriously. But I think all of his videos are hilarious. I honestly,
yeah, they're funny. They're funny,
and he's probably one of the nicest low key guys. He's probably one of the nicest low key guys backstage. I don't know. I've never met him. So
great guy. Yeah, legitimately great guy.
And one of our viewers wants to know, since you mentioned earlier having a tryout for WWE, he wants to know, is there a bright future for you in WWE very soon?
I mean, it depends how this Netflix documentary goes. I don't know. That hopefully, I have big goals, big aspirations. I don't plan on stopping until I make them happen. I got some big projects coming up over in the next year or so, but I would love for a WWE or a chance. Like if I had a chance now, if I had that chance now, I feel like I'd make it, or at least you had a better shot of making it.
Right, if you had it where, back at the time, maybe you're just a little too not ready, not seasoned enough yet. So, but
I'm still not. I'm a constant student. Like I'm learning from the Outrunners at OVW. When I go to the Southern Discomfort, Jebediah, Nate, Star Snake, like learning from them. Like I'm learning from the vets every time I'm in every show I'm at.
We had Jebediah on a couple months ago. Super nice guy on the show. So he
cut off my ponytail.
So you don't find him so awesome now, huh? At least he didn't trim the beard. He did say the word feller a lot. He called us fellers all night. Feller, yeah. So, we're gonna switch a little bit. We'll go back to OVW before the end. But you mentioned Journey Independent Championship Wrestling. They have a tournament coming up here soon. This is, from what I understand, is very near and dear to your heart. The put it up. The Austin Fury Memorial Tournament. It goes down Saturday, September the 23rd. So, what is the significance of the Austin Fury tournament to you?
So, Austin Fury was my best friend. We started out together. Well, I mean, he started out a long time before I did. But I think he started when he was 13, backyard wrestling, got trained, was killing it in the the cruiserweight division here in the Midwest area, traveling around. He was my first ever victory in a wrestling ring. The first time I ever got my hand raised. It wasn't as Kripke. I was under a mask, but he was the first one that was, he was the first one that was willing to, put his ego above, or put the business above his ego and give a kid like me a chance, even though I was 5 or 6 years older than him. But we ever since then we hit it off, and him and I were best buddies. We went to company after company. He was a great heel, and I'm a decent babyface, and so we would always have a feud every company we went at. The first singles title I ever won was in a match with him. I had a feud with him for the title. That was a company that him and I, like, he was the heavyweight champion, even though he was like 30 pounds lighter than I am. And I was the Intercontinental champion. And then finally we work our way over to Journey, and that chairs match you mentioned earlier, that was the last match I got to have with Austin. And like I said, we were always good guy, bad guy, good guy, bad guy. For that match, I was on a roll as a big whiskey. Maybe I was feeling my whiskey a little too much. I was, yelling at the crowd, full on being a bad guy. Well, Austin came in to save the day, and we had that chairs match, and it just showed that he could do it all. So I don't know, just with this tournament, I'm sorry, I'm kind of rambling just because it's anytime I get a chance to talk about Austin. Austin was always a pro. A couple years ago, or a couple years ago, he passed away. So what we've been trying to do with this is to keep his memory alive, because like I was saying, he was going places. He influenced me. We influenced a lot of companies together. He influenced a lot of wrestlers, personally, professionally. And I know that if he was still around, you'd be interviewing him, not me. He'd be the one on Netflix. He was always much more talented than he ever gave himself gave himself credit for.
So is this the first tournament, or has there been?
There was one last year, and that one crowned the first ever Austin Fury Inevitable champion. So it's a beautiful belt. It's in my car, and I'm horribly unprepared. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay, because we do have the bracket for the we do have the bracket for the tournament. So I'm gonna bring it up, and we'll probably have to pull you.
That's what I was saying. Like last year was the first time we did that. I won.
Okay.
Yeah, I beat his me and King Fury, Austin's brother. We had a really good match in the finals, and I ended up winning. I've defended the title across different companies over the past year, and then now I'm putting it on the line for this tournament.
And it looks like you get a bye in the first round, so you get
champion advantage.
But who on this list do you think has a chance to take your title?
Oh, King Fury is always a danger, because that's Austin Fury's brother, and he's the king. So you never know when he wants to make it a King's Rules match, which is no DQ. He's got all these weapons he can bring out. But aside from the X factor of Excalibur as well, me and Austin Fury, we had our own little Bullet Club thing. We called ourselves the Euchre Club, because what's more Midwest than Euchre? So we were the Midwest Bullet Club. Yeah. So me and Austin and Excalibur. So I could see Excalibur doing that for killing it. Nick Diamond, he is somebody to keep an eye out on. I can't talk today, which is not good for a day I'm supposed to be on a podcast. Sorry, I'm just saying all these wrong words. But yeah, Nick Diamond is somebody to keep your eye on. He is somebody that's gonna be making waves over these next few years, and he already is right now in the Midwest.
And Tyler, I see Tyler Bodine's on the list, and Tyler Bodine's just a big old rough and tumble kind of guy. So
exactly. I know we're just going through everybody at this point, but Brutus Dillon as well. Him and Tyler, that'd be a house fire right there. Yeah.
It's not gonna be an easy tournament for you, is it?
No, Tyler Lee Deputy. That's another. He was trained at OVW, if I'm not mistaken, or at least he was an OVW alumni, and so he's someone else to look out for. I'm always looking out for the law.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a good tournament, and it's in honor of someone that's obviously near and dear to your heart. So
Yep. I believe all the proceeds are going to a suicide awareness fund. Last year they went to his family. This year they're going to the suicide awareness fund. It's very important. This is a tournament that's been highly sought after to be in. A lot of people in the Midwest have been wanting to be in this because Austin did influence a lot of people, and everybody wants to keep his memory alive. I'm interested to see how this tournament plays out. Journey. So let's see. Let me just go through tell you a little bit of history of Big Whiskey here. So when I started out at the School of Rock here in Lafayette, Indiana. I was trained the same year as Mance Warner. And that's by Billy Rock, the King of Indiana. So I got a good start there. Met Austin at NGW. We went to Acme Championship Wrestling. We went to All Around. And then I met a man named Stephen Hurt, and that guy is another very talented individual. We met at a couple dead end companies, and he just decided, you know what, we'll start our own, and he started his own. All I did is help come up with a name, but Steven's been putting in the work the past few years and raised his company from the ground up to where it is now, to where we could do these charity shows that mean a lot to a lot of people. And so and this is the last place where I had a match with with Austin, and the first match I had back after it all happened was at Journey, and I won their tag titles.
Was it the Euchre Club versus Southern Discomfort? If I saw that match on YouTube. I didn't get a chance to watch the match, but I saw it on the match list. It was the Austin Fury Memorial match, the Euchre Club.
Oh, he was ribbing us too. He was ribbing us that night. We get in the ring for our entrance, and we stand on the rope, and the bottom rope snaps completely off.
That's happened before. I was one of the shows I was at for the company I work for in St. Louis, Dynamo Pro. It was the first show. It was a terrible night to have a show because there was a winter storm, and we called the show Winters, the Polar Vortex of Fury. We ended up calling the show, and right as the first opening tag match came in, the first person to get on this bottom rope completely breaks. Just completely breaks. I'm like, what's going on here? So you can wrestle without a bottom rope, I found out.
You don't need it for much, except for climbing. I've noticed when I climb, because I do a lot of top rope stuff, it didn't really affect anything until I had to go to the top rope, and then I'm about dying. Now
if I've had another with when the top rope broke, and that's a little different because you gotta have a top rope too, and they just moved the ropes around temporarily until they could fix it, and they put it on the bottom. But those kind of things happen.
All right,
we sent out the champ as a promo, and we went back. They told me to go back and get him. They're like, we need you to come out and cut a promo about whatever you want to cut a promo about. And he's like, when do I need to go out? His music hit. I'm like, now. So
yeah, right now.
But yeah, it happens. Those kind of things happen when it's live. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Speaking of live. Oh, I keep hearing the word data. So there's little whiskey.
Little whiskey. That might be the most adorable thing that's ever happened on this podcast. Is have little whiskey on the show. So, Hoss, do you have anything else you want to ask before we kind of start to wrap things up?
I know a lot of wrestlers, they have their own wrestling bucket list of things they want to do in the business. And I mean, I know it's always, like making WWE or AEW, something like that is always on there. But what type of things do you have on your bucket list that you are still trying to accomplish?
So it's funny you use that phrase because that's like exactly how I kind of started out my career. Like after I got trained from the School of Rock, I was like, well, it's one match was included. Like you get a debut match. Yeah. And so and so I was like, okay, check mark. I step foot in a wrestling ring. Check. Do a dive. Yay! I learned how to do that. Then I got to have my own match, and then eventually I got after my match I got another booking. So then I was like, oh, first booking. Wrestled Austin, had my first victory. My first ever main event, my first ever title win. That's kind of how I thought about it for the longest time. And then I finally got to the point where I was like, wait, this isn't just a bucket list. Like this, I could do this, And then I started pursuing it as a career and never looked back. But nowadays, what I would say, I've accomplished a lot of things, but I haven't followed, not nothing. Because obviously, the Netflix thing, I was just on pay-per-view last week, so I'm not, things are going okay. But yeah, that contract, that's on my bucket list. A contract somewhere, or I wanna full-time wrestle again, pay the bills with just wrestling. That's what I would love to. Now my bills are a lot more than they used to be, but so that's
diapers are expensive. I've heard. I don't have any kids, but I've heard that rumor.
But on a less practical note, the wrestling Chuck Taylor, that's an opponent that I really want. I have become a world champion with the AIWF. I'm a former AIWF World Cruiserweight Champion, but I would love a run at another world title, maybe one of the AIWFs. Aside from that, with OVW, I really want an OVW title. My goal is to make my name there in history, along the likes of John Cena, Randy Orton, the greats. I want my name to be listed there as well on the Wikipedia page. So,
if I'm not mistaken, EC3 was on this past pay-per-view this past weekend. If I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion wrestled Jesse Goddards for the OVW National Championship, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is EC3 and School of Morton.
Big beefy boys slapping meat.
And it was probably a hell of a match too. So.
Oh yeah. It was. I don't know. I'm sure you've been watching the OVW a little while. Jesse Goddards is, he's been the big bad guy for a while, and EC3 is the NWA World's Heavyweight biggest bad guy. So it was. It was interesting to see Jesse getting cheered and stuff, but he is definitely top shelf talent, Jesse Goddards is somebody to look out for,
Wasn't he on Impact? Wasn't he on Impact for a while? Or
I believe he was with the Bromans. The Bromans.
Something like that. So, Haas, I know you want to ask him one more question about something we do every week. So,
yes, every week we have what we call the Wrestle Talk Podcast World Game Show Challenge.
Bring it on.
And
I win.
And it actually will pit you this week against Big Sexy Chris Rodell, if you are interested.
Deal. And then it's for the name, the copyright of the word big.
Oh yeah, big whiskey versus big sexy, and why can't I not? Oh, there it is. I can't. We have a theme, so hold on one second.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's installment of the world famous Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. Tonight's contest is scheduled for the best 2 out of 3 falls. Our contestants are Big Whiskey, Jared Kripke,
That's
and
me.
the Wrestle Talk Podcast's own Big Sexy Chris Rodell. In a few moments, I will be asking you gentlemen 3 questions about a particular professional wrestling topic.
Okay.
Whenever you think you know the answer to the question, shout out your answer. And if you shout it out and it's not right, feel free to shout something else out. You don't have to do just one. You don't have to be acknowledged first. Just shout it out. The first person to win 2 falls will win tonight's game show challenge. Tonight's Wrestle Talk Podcast game show challenge category is all about the beard.
Okay.
I will give you information about 3 professional wrestlers who were known for their beards. When you think you know the wrestler that I am talking about, shout out your answer. The first person to win 2 out of 3 falls wins tonight's contest. So, are we ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Question number 1. This WWE Hall of Famer was known for his beard and creating his own self-named championship valued at $1 million.
And Ted DiBiase?
That
Ted
is
DiBiase.
correct.
Was he known for his beard?
Yeah, kind of.
It was a solid beard. No
hate.
No hate. Great
All right.
recognizes great.
First fall goes to Jared. So, Big Sexy, you are down 1.
I know.
Question number 2. This late WWE Hall of Famer was known for being a wrestler, a manager, and for his beard. He was also known for pinning rubber bands to his face.
Captain Lou Albano.
Lou Albano is correct.
That might be a little bit before Jared's time. So
No, I was mouthing Mr. Fuji, and then you said Captain Lou Albano, and I'm like, darn it, you're right. And as soon as you said rubber bands, I'm like, I knew that.
All right, question number 3. And you said you were a WCW fan, correct?
Yes.
Okay, well, then this one might be right up your alley. This professional wrestler was associated with the WWC, USWA, the NWA, and WCW, the WWE, and Impact.
Carlos Colon?
No.
No.
Who else was in WWE?
Wrestling over his 41-year career in professional wrestling, he teamed with Bobby Jaggers. He managed Jack Swagger and Cesaro in WWE.
It's Zeb Striker, but it's not his name.
It's Dutch Mantel's Uncle Zeb.
Yeah, it's Dutch Mantel.
Dirty Dutch Mantel, Zeb Coulter is correct. So Big Sexy has won the game show challenge.
Yeah.
So
now, in the post-production meetings, we are never going to hear the end of this. You know that, right?
Let's call a spade a spade. The hosts don't do the best at this game show challenge. We always end up getting beat. So
I knew the name. I knew his name. I just couldn't remember his WCW name. you know. So like, you know, and one technicality, it's Big Whiskey win, but you know.
Yeah, in your mind, it could be that way, but so before we let you go, we will we'll let you know about you got that big Austin Fury tournament.
Yes, that's huge.
Saturday, September 23rd. So good luck in that, and then starting tomorrow, which I believe, I'm looking at this picture, I believe this is you on their like thumbnail of it. If I'm not, is that? It's the Netflix series Wrestlers. It starts tomorrow. Is that you? Is that you?
Oh yeah. No, no, that's my roommate. My roommate from last year, Kripke.
Okay.
He is just him stealing my beard and my entrance action. You know.
Oh, okay. So he's a gimmick. He infringes on your gimmicks. So,
like I said, great recognizes great. Yeah,
that is true. So we are so glad that you came onto the show tonight. You are now officially a part of the Wrestle Talk podcast family. Go ahead and shout out all of your information, your social medias, where people can find you, and all that good stuff.
At Jared Kripke on X, Instagram. Maybe Jared is Kripke, I believe, but I just post on Facebook. At Jared Kripke. If you want to see my matches, most of them will be on Skyconic Wrestling. You can catch me every Thursday on Fight TV for OVW. Netflix starting tomorrow, and Journey Championship Wrestling for the Austin Fury I can't talk. Journey Championship Wrestling for the Austin Fury tournament, where I am the inevitable champion. And I'm excited to see what top shelf talent shows up.
That's awesome. Well, Jared, once again, thank you very much for being here. We wish you luck. Next time you see HD, maybe throw him around the ring a little bit down there in OVW. Yeah. He kind of deserves it at times. So, but no, he's a super good guy. So, but thank you for coming on, and we hope to see you again real soon.
Well, see you soon, guys.
Thank you.
Well, what'd you think of that interview?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. You know, he seems like a really great guy, and I'm glad we got to learn more about him. And you know, so it was really good, and look forwards to checking out the Netflix series, and you know, hope to see him on there a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good show. We had a good show. We were actually not too late tonight for a change. I mean, unfortunately, Dewan couldn't join us, and we knew Perry wasn't going to be here this week. So,
I'm not sure what happened to Dewan. I never got response out of him. But you know, Perry, his daughter, actually had a game tonight, so he's at his daughter's game. And you know, being with family is always important. So
family first is what I always say. Family first.
Exactly.
So before we leave, I'm gonna let Big Hoss shout out one more time the great sponsors of the Wrestle Talk podcast. I'll throw them up here real quick.
All right, one more time here. We've got Royal Mills Transportation, the one and only Dewan Mills. And then we got Rathbun Engraving. Get your Wrestle Talk podcast mugs, just $20. Nobleman's Barber Lounge, KCMO. Kincaid Arcade at the Oak Park Mall. Interstate 70 Sports Media, our buddy Jeremy Karp. Little Popeyes Designs, where you get your very own Wrestle Talk podcast tumbler. And the FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group. And if you don't have your own Wrestle Talk podcast tumbler, just hit one of us up. We'll be glad to get you set up with one. Yeah, got our logo on it. Get your name put on it. Keeps your drinks cold. I mean, what more can you ask for? I tell you, they are high quality mugs. They're not something that You buy off Walmart.
We don't do cheap around here. So we got quality. So well, Haas, it has been a great time with you tonight. I enjoyed our wrestling discussions that we had. Jarrett was a great guest. Look very much forward to that Netflix series Wrestlers that starts tomorrow. So how about we say we wrap this thing up and I will see you. I think you're on next week, aren't you? You and
Yes, it should be myself and the Night Owl, unless anything happens.
Good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. That's what I always say.
That's what they say.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, Haas. I will talk to you soon. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight, and that's going to do it for the Wrestle Talk Podcast, episode 450. Fear the Beard. We will see you again next time, right here on the Wrestle Talk Podcast.